Since I started studying, I worked at a law firm, the Technical University of Munich, at which I study, in a startup consultancy at BMW, and I also worked self-employed. I want to share these stories with you, the good, the bad, the ugly, so that you can make informed decisions when picking your part-time jobs. My first job was at a law firm when I was in my first semester, and it was absolutely not what I expected. My heart was beating faster when I rang the bell of the office and I went up that staircase for the first time. I'm walking into like the white office entrance to wait for my boss. And the entrance hall looked exactly like one from my doctor. White walls, a couple of chairs to wait and some nature pictures on the wall, and a bit dark because there were no windows. I had my best shirt on because I knew this would signal and tell the people at the company that I'm professional and that I'm able to do that. This is it. Like, I made it. I have a job. I'm gonna be successful. I was literally full of energy at that day. I wanted to prove that I'm smart, competent, reliable, and I wanted to get the recognition that I deserved. Well, I had no clue about the job world, like nothing at all. My tasks were honestly also a bit of a joke. Like, the task included running errands and copying documents and fetching some things from, I don't know, a supermarket. But I was totally convinced that this was the best job I was ever doing, and I was doing the best job ever. Totally delusional in hindsight. I mean, I think I was doing a good job, but at the same time, anyone would have been smart enough to put documents into a copy machine. Yeah, still, I did that perfectly. I had believed that if I did a good job, then I would get promoted. Maybe I would get more responsibility and I would get cooler tasks. But I learned that people hire you to do a certain job, and they hire you to do that job because all of the other jobs are already taken, right? And the way to get better jobs is not to stick with a job, but actually to then take that experience and then apply for a better job. So the next job that I took was as a tutor at a university. I was among the best students in one of the classes, which was the logistics class. So I got asked if I wanted to be the tutor for the new class, which obviously, I mean, yes, of course, that's easy. I had good grades. I thought that's the easiest money I'll ever make. So there I was standing in front of a bunch of students and I got nervous. It turns out it's actually not that easy because, first of all, the class was already like 6 months ago and I forgot a bunch of stuff. And what I totally underestimated was that while I scored good on that exam, I still didn't have full marks, which meant I wasn't able to answer all of the questions. In the end, the first tutorial was okay-ish, but over time it got better. I learned how important it is to just show up prepared for work, and even just reviewing the notes before arriving helps so much. The job itself was a lot of fun. I learned that I like to communicate with people and that I like to pass on experiences and also some of my failures to other people so that they maybe hopefully can learn from it. But this is the beginning of my journey and the jobs only get better. The job I had after that was in the international office, where I tried to establish connections between the Technical University of Munich and other universities to do exchange programs together. This job was fully remote and I actually did it while being abroad during my exchange semester myself. I have to say that the job was very dry, like super dry, honestly, because I had to do a lot of research on other universities that were not that interesting to me. But I think the job itself was very good from the conditions, as it paid more than minimum wage and I was able to work whenever I wanted and wherever I wanted. I was able to work while being on the train, while traveling, and I could decide how many hours per week I wanted to work as long as I do the work in the end of the month that we agreed on. This was a very repetitive task, and I learned that, well, I'm not the best fit for doing repetitive tasks. And honestly, now with like AI and everything, many of the repetitive tasks will be gone anyway. So maybe I would like the job now because then it's more about doing a bit more research and contacting people. Then the upcoming job changed completely how I viewed jobs and also what I wanted from life. I'm trying to make this dramatic, okay? Stick with me. I found a job at a startup, which sounds cool, and I was selling plants to plant stores. It's like a more modern version of a plant retailer. That's what they basically were. They had recently acquired a big flower shop and I was supposed to work in marketing and customer service. To me, it sounded amazing. I would take pictures, do marketing campaigns, and make sure that everybody was as happy as they can be in the shop. I only had to do some cleaning and count some inventory from the new warehouse for a couple of weeks, and then I would be creating marketing materials and would be in direct contact with customers, taking care of them and be responsible for them having just an enjoyable experience in the store. Amazing, right? So I worked hard, motivated to finish the counting of inventory as fast as I could. After all, it would only be 2-3 weeks or something, and then I can do the exciting tasks. And honestly, like everything was perfect except for one single thing. They had much more inventory than they thought. I got promised to work this cool job once I'm finished with counting all of the inventory things, but a couple of weeks turned into a couple of months. There were weeks when I worked full-time just counting how many items there were on which shelf and what kind of item it was. It was frustrating, honestly. I didn't even know why I took the job anymore, and I hated it. No, that's how it was. I mean, why did I work as a tutor and in an international office where I gained some work experience, and now I'm stuck here full-time counting things on a shelf? Like, I felt stuck. I then quit after, I think, 5 months maybe. And I swore myself that I would never, ever do such a repetitive tasks. I have so much respect for the people who are doing these jobs on a daily basis. This is insane. This job taught me that I would not bet on doing a bad task first for maybe getting a better job in the future. And this also gave me so much motivation to actually succeed in my studying. And I really tried hard in exams because I swore I would never, I don't want to work this kind of job again. That was already a couple of years ago. But still, whenever I face a difficult situation in my studies, I still to this day think back to these times, and it helps me to just push through whatever I'm facing. So yeah, I had enough. I wanted a real job in which I would actually learn something for my future in a company that I like. I sent tens of applications and only got rejected. And honestly, I struggled a bit because it's weird because you apply to all of these jobs that you want to have, and all of them require work experience. But you cannot get work experience because for that you need to have had a job before. So it's like, where do you start? So yes, I got a lot of rejections until I asked a recruiter and a career service to help me with my motivation letters and CVs and everything. Even already getting their feedback showed me how little I knew about applications and jobs. I got then invited to several interviews and then got an internship in a startup consultancy in Berlin. It was shortly after the pandemic, so I moved there without knowing anyone. And of course, the office was still closed. So yeah, I learned to spend time by myself. Anyway, I was now part of a company with 20 people where I would refine business and financial plans for startups who wanted to get funding from the government. It was cool because I learned a lot about all different kinds of aspects of business and also about oddly specific things, like if one of your hot valves isn't able to properly close anymore, I know that you can now actually use a tiny anchor that you can stitch through it, and doing that would save a bunch of money compared to current methods. Anyway, you're welcome. The job was fun and the team was great. Those were the kind of people I would love to hang out with. I only met them a couple of times, but the team was great, so I now think that I want to rather work in a smaller team. This was the first job where I actually thought I learned something valuable, and apparently they liked my work because they offered me a working student position, which was fully remote, which I gladly took, and I also took advantage of because I still had almost no friends still after 3 months in Berlin because, well, you're new in a city, but you're working full time. When do you meet new people? So then I actually traveled to Bulgaria. So while I was traveling, I worked from just hostels and anywhere 2 days a week. But now I'm also training the new interns who came into this company. So this was super fun. What sounded even more exciting than that was then the chance to go to my next internship at BMW, where again the same recruiter had helped me with my CV and interview preparation. The internship was in the startup and innovation management, and I was able to decide if I want to go to the office or stay at home. So also very flexible again. So I decided to do a mix of both, which was quite convenient because on the days where there were more things to take care of than work, I would just stay home. And on the other days where I had a lot of time anyway, I would meet my colleagues in the office and just enjoy the time there. I remember my boss was very chill and she gave me a lot of responsibilities. Basically, whenever I was finished with my tasks and I got bored, I asked if I could take on another part. So I ended up visiting some different parts of BMW, also helping with events and startup conventions while doing a bit of scouting for cool technologies to be implemented in the production of BMW, which was actually the task that I got hired for. The office was huge. We had a big cafeteria. Everything looked nice. We had standing desks and a kitchen and everything. It's cool. It was cool. While the work sounds now exciting, there were days, especially in the end of the internship, where I really felt a bit stuck. I felt like I wasn't learning much more anymore, and I'm only there to basically document the same processes and do the same tasks over and over again. I also realized that the work is quite chill, which can be good. Many full-time employees were satisfied with the job and were not hungry for more. They were just fine with where they are, which completely makes sense. Like they were probably earning like 70K a year with only working 35 hours a week. And they had a secure job. But in hindsight, I realized that I want to be surrounded rather by people who are working a bit more, who even if they've already something great, they would still be hardworking and be passionate about what they are doing. I love people who are passionate about something and fully committed. So I think this is a great job for many people, but maybe it wasn't for me. I would now rather work in a small team, maybe a startup where they really have to work hard and focus, even if I would learn less money, just because I know I will be happier in that environment. What I also learned is that, well, if you want to earn a lot of money, it's probably very unlikely that you will do the thing that you absolutely love the most and earn a lot of money. Many of the things that give you a lot of money are things like repetitive tasks or boring stuff. I definitely learned that at a job, you will almost never, like it's very unlikely that you'll be happy for 100% of the time. It's just not the case. That's how jobs work. Many jobs require you to be expert in one field, and so you have to do the same things over and over again. And that's just how it is. Now let's come to the self-employed jobs. Of course, there is YouTube, even though I wouldn't call it a real job, honestly, for now. I have made videos for over 2 years and earned less than 1,000 euros in total. So that's the worst thing I ever did when it comes to money, I guess. And this is super fun and I absolutely love the exchange with you and getting to know your stories, struggles and successes in the comments. So please share your story in the comments. The most recent freelance job I did was for an entrepreneurship event where I helped to plan and organize an event for 70 people that flew in from all over the world who would be working on challenges of future mobility. My tasks were a bit more mundane. I had to onboard people, make reservations, and during the week take care of requests that people had. What is actually interesting is that even though the tasks were quite simple, I enjoyed it so much. Honestly confusing to me because I had to do very repetitive tasks, I would feel, but there were many different kinds of repetitive tasks. So I was balancing out and I had contact with many great people. Just the environment and the people there were amazing. Everyone was ambitious and optimistic and full of energy. And I met many cool people. So what are the lessons that I learned there? To me, the most important thing is the team. If the team is inspiring and if my coworkers love their job, then I'm much more happy being at work, even if the tasks are a bit dry. I also learned that the goal is not to stay in a company if you're not satisfied. Don't wait until things get better. They usually don't, because things will not get better unless you change something. I found that with each job I took, I was then more qualified than before. And that enabled me to get even more interesting jobs after that. So I'm excited what's coming next because I already like that job a lot. If you're thinking about getting a part-time job and want a full guide on how to find jobs that fit you, how to write convincing applications, and how to convince in an interview, click on the first link in the video description and insert your email. If enough people do this, then I know this might be interesting to you and I will create a guide together with the recruiter who knows what it takes to get a good job, and you'll be the first one who knows once we're finished. I'm rooting for you. Keep growing.